Gotta do a close-up. Hi, I'm Chuck.
And I'm Deb.
And chances are you probably heard one of our stories, but we want you to get to know us a little bit better. So we're going to share our 1-minute stories with you again. And then we're going to talk about what our stories mean to us and what benefit they can have for you. So when I was a young guy, I was a paratrooper, and I was scared to death of jumping out of airplanes, and I made a deal with God. I said, if you open my parachute, I'll go to church every Sunday. So one Sunday, this big Special Forces guy comes up, sticks his finger in my chest and says, "Why are you coming to church?" And I said, I made a deal with God, which I thought was a very odd question. But he said, that's cool. And then he told me a story that I've heard all my life. But for some reason that day it clicked. He said God sent his son Jesus to the earth. He lived a perfect life. And then he died on the cross for everything that I've ever done wrong. And then he rose again from the dead. And now he's the King of Kings, and he's coming back real soon. And he said this, if you receive his forgiveness and make him the king of your life, he will give you courage to jump out of those airplanes. Well, that was 38 years ago, and I've had courage and peace ever since. So we have a question for you, but we're going to ask after Deb shares her story.
Okay, so my story is that for a long time I tried to do things right and be good, and I kept failing, and it left me feeling frustrated and super guilty. So one day I was talking to a friend about this, and she said, hey, no whoops, because God tells us in the Bible that everybody's messed up. But she said he did something about that. God sent his son Jesus. He came to the earth. He lived a perfect life. Then he died on a cross to forgive us from all the things we've done wrong, if we ask him to. He was buried, and then he rose again, and now he's the King of Kings, and he's coming back soon. When I heard that message, I knew it was the truth, and I went home, I got on my knees, I asked God to forgive me, and started following Jesus as my King. And not only did I experience that forgiveness that my friend talked about, but just the freedom from not having to be good on my own. So our question for you is, have you ever asked Jesus for forgiveness and made him your King?
So chances are, if God's been working in your life, and we believe that he is, that there's no mistake that you met us and heard our stories. And the reason why we share our stories, because Jesus says, go and make disciples, followers of him. And so we're just obeying that very important command. So this may or may not have stirred something in your heart. If it has, how do you respond? How do you respond to what Jesus did on a cross and his call to follow him? Well, hon, what would be a very basic thing to do?
Well, you could do what I did. I went home, I got on my knees, and I prayed, and I made that commitment to follow Jesus. And then I got involved with people who were also trying to follow Jesus, who were reading the Bible and trying to do what it said. And so, trying to find somebody to help you out to stick to that commitment that you make of trying to follow Jesus is a good idea.
Yeah, and we're going to be making more videos, so Maybe some of these videos will help you take that next step in your journey in following Jesus. It's really pretty simple. It's not a prayer that saves you. It's that surrender, that acknowledgement before God that you've messed up. The Bible calls it sin, and sin separates us from God. It's been doing that from the very beginning. And so when we're separated from God, the antidote, the solution to that is simple humility, to go before God and tell Him, I was wrong, you were right. That is an amazing step of humility and faith. But there's also another step. You notice Deb got on her knees. She bowed down before the King. She surrendered. She gave her life to the King. You know, I have the steering wheel on this van. But when you come to Jesus, you got to sit over there where Deb is and let Jesus do the driving, because He's now the boss. He's the King. And He's a good King. He's a good boss. He has your best interest at heart. He loves you. And so it makes all the sense in the world to surrender your life to Him.
Yeah, I would say if you don't have a Bible, I would get one. You can download one to your smartphone if you have a smartphone, or you can get a paper Bible somewhere, and start reading. But not at the beginning. I mean, you can if you want, but I would suggest start reading in the Gospels, which is like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's the first 4 books of the New Testament, because those are about the life of Jesus and things that He did and things that He said. So I would start in like Matthew and just start reading and figuring out what Jesus says and how to be like Him.
Yeah. And you know, keep coming back. We're going to keep making videos to help you in your journey with Jesus, and that's juio.net/welcome. juio.net/welcome. And we'll just help you along in this newfound faith in Christ. It's going to be really exciting. Okay, I hope that's helpful. If it has been, pass it on to your friends. Visit the website and subscribe right over here in the corner. And we'll see you next time. Keep making disciples until there's no place left. Don the sunglasses. We're men in black and blue. A woman and a man.